Hey, Missio Dei. My name is Jameson, and I'm one of the elders with Missio Dei Wrigleyville. We are now about 2 months in to the bad news of social distancing and COVID-19. And while this has been a dark and confusing and difficult time for most of us, we are still a people full of good news. I'd like to share a few thoughts with you today about what our gospel is and why it's good news. In Mark 16:15, Jesus said this, "Go into all the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole creation." And in 2 Corinthians 5:20-21, Paul said, "We are Christ's ambassadors. God is making his appeal through us. We speak for Christ when we plead, 'Come back to God.' For God made Christ, who never sinned, to be the offering for our sin, so that we could be made right with God through Christ." One of the most important ways to learn the gospel is to rehearse the gospel, to speak it, to say it, to repeat it. Think about it. When is the last time that you practiced speaking the gospel out loud? Or if I asked you point blank right now to just go ahead and declare the gospel, how would you say it? I've found that our responses tend to be nervous, wordy, philosophical, and even sometimes rote. But what we really need to learn is how to see and how to say contextualized news about Jesus that is good for the particular moment that we're in. Remember though, just like anything else, learning to write or learning to brush your teeth, it takes practice to proclaim the gospel well, to build that kind of muscle memory. In short, here is what we proclaim. In Jesus' life, death, and resurrection and ascension, he showed us not only how much God loves us, but also what it truly means to be fully human and fully alive. So, being disciples means learning from Jesus how to delight in the right things, or to put it another way, how not to be fish out of water, how to stay and abide in the waters of the way of Jesus, how to swim in the oceans of his mercy and his grace and his love. For example, for me, the last 2 months have brought about the utter loss of routine, which for me is a really big deal. About 3 weeks into the shelter-in-place order, my wife delivered our 4th baby. Yes, our 4th child arrived in the middle of quarantine while Allison is studying to finish her undergrad, while I'm working full-time remotely, while both of our older boys are expecting us to homeschool them and then play baseball with them, and Azara is expecting us to read books and build towers and all sorts of other things all day. Not to mention the infant who has to nurse every 3 hours, who takes an hour and a half to do so and wakes up whenever she pleases throughout the day and the night. I leaned over to Allison a couple of days ago and I said, "We may never experience solitude again," with a bit of despair in my voice. You see, the pressure building up in me has been both a healthy hunger for quiet communion with God and an unhealthy guilt for not putting my time in. The lie that I was covertly believing is that God has a ledger on the quality and the frequency of my time of solitude with him, and that he isn't to be found in the moments of diaper changes, explanations of addition and mathematics, timeouts, and mountains of mac and cheese. The gospel I am experiencing is the truth reminder that caring for, being present to, and pouring myself out for my family, even if raggedly, is to be with God right where he is, delighting in those in whom he delights. And though tiring, this sweetens everything. In other words, loving God looks a lot like loving people. And his promise in it is that no matter how much I pour out, if it is coming from his reservoir, I can never run out. Today, the good news for you in this very moment is that because the Lord is with you, you are good news. You are free from religious quotas and polished piety. God's love for you is measureless, and he has made you as a display of his goodness and his glory. Do you see it? You are an exhibition of the faithfulness of God to those around you. Just by receiving his mercy, accepting his love, and showing and telling these truths to those you're with. So give it a try. Practice saying the gospel. Rehearse it with your friends. Revel in the reality that God has made you a part of this gospel about Jesus. Go into all the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole creation. Peace be with you.